My name is Lee Rossner, and I live in Savannah, Georgia, where the moss hangs from the trees like old gray hair, and the air is so thick you feel like you are breathing in warm soup. I am 10 years old, and I am in the fourth grade at a school where everyone seems to know everyone else's business before they even wake up in the morning. Savannah is a beautiful city with old cobblestone streets and squares that look like they belong in a movie, but it is also a place where traditions run very deep, and if you do not fit in it, can feel like you are trying to swim upstream in a river made of molasses. I have always been a little bit different from the other kids in my class, because I am one of the only Jewish students in a school where almost everyone else spends their Sundays at the big Baptist or Methodist churches downtown. My parents moved here from New York before I was born because my father is a doctor, and my mother is a historian who loves the old architecture, but I sometimes feel like a puzzle piece that was put in the wrong box. I am a quiet girl who loves to read, and I am very good at math, which you would think would make my life easier. But in the fourth grade, it actually made everything much worse. My math teacher was a woman named Mrs. Gable, and she was the kind of person who wore a giant wooden cross around her neck that looked like it could be used as a weapon if the need ever arose. Mrs. Gable was very loud and very sure of herself, and she had a way of looking at me like I was a stain on a clean rug that she just could not scrub out no matter how hard she tried. She was hyper-religious, and she talked about her faith more than she talked about fractions or long division, which always made me feel very uncomfortable and out of place. The real problem, however, was not just Mrs. Gable, but her favorite student whose name was Tyler Miller. Tyler was a boy who smelled like dirt and spoiled milk, and he was the biggest bully in the entire fourth grade. He was the kind of boy who would trip you in the hallway and then laugh while you scraped your knees, and then he would go into the classroom and act like a perfect little angel for Mrs. Gable. For some reason, Mrs. Gable absolutely adored Tyler, and she believed every word that came out of his mouth, even when it was a blatant lie. She would often tell the class that Tyler had a good heart and that he was a leader, but I knew better, because I was usually the one he was leading his attacks against. Because I was good at math, Mrs. Gable made me sit next to Tyler every single day, and she forced me to help him with his assignments even though she knew that we did not get along at all. It was like she was punishing me for being smart and rewarding him for being lazy and mean. Every time Tyler would whisper something nasty to me or poke me with his pencil, I would try to stand up for myself, but Mrs. Gable would always take his side and tell me that I needed to be more patient and more Christian, which was a very strange thing to say to a Jewish girl. She would look at me with those cold blue eyes and tell me that I had a dark spirit and that I was being difficult on purpose. This went on for months, and the tension in the classroom grew until it felt like a rubber band that was stretched so tight it was about to snap. I tried to tell my parents, but they told me to just keep my head down and work hard because they thought I was just dealing with a regular schoolyard grump. They did not understand that Mrs. Gable was not just a grumpy teacher, but someone who truly seemed to dislike who I was at my core. One day Tyler took things too far when he waited for me by the water fountain and told me that I was going to hell because I did not believe in the same things he did, and then he pushed me so hard that I fell backward and landed on my arm. I felt a sharp pain and a loud pop, and I knew right away that something was very wrong. My arm ended up in a heavy plaster cast, and I had to wear it for weeks, which made everything even more difficult because I am right-handed, and that was the arm I broke. When I came back to school with my cast, Mrs. Gable did not show any sympathy at all, and instead she told me that perhaps this was a sign that I needed to humble myself. Tyler thought the cast was hilarious, and he would constantly bump into it on purpose, making me wince in pain. I reached my breaking point during a physical education class when we were supposed to be playing kickball. The sun was beating down on the red clay of the playground, and the humidity was so high that my shirt was sticking to my back. Tyler kept shoving me every time I got near the ball, and the physical education teacher was busy talking to another student and did not see what was happening. Finally, Tyler pushed me down into the dirt for the third time, and I felt a surge of white-hot anger that I had never felt before in my life. I did not think about what I was doing, I just reacted. I scrambled to my feet, and I swung my heavy plaster cast as hard as I could at his arm to get him away from me. I did not hit him very hard, but the cast was solid, and it made a loud thud against his shoulder. Tyler started screaming like he had been bitten by a shark even though he was barely hurt, and the physical education teacher came running over immediately. Of course, I was the one who got in trouble, and I was sent straight to the principal's office, but before I got there, I had to face Mrs. Gable in the hallway. She looked at me with a look of pure disgust, and she hissed under her breath that I was the devil and that she knew there was something evil inside of me. She said that I was a wicked child and that I would never find peace if I kept acting like a monster. Hearing an adult call a 10-year-old child, the devil is something that sticks with you, and it made me feel like something inside of me had finally broken for good. I spent the rest of the day in detention thinking about those words and how unfair it was that Tyler could do whatever he wanted while I was treated like a villain for defending myself. I decided right then and there that if Mrs. Gable wanted to believe that I was the devil, then I was going to prove her right in the most creative way possible. I realized that she was terrified of anything that she considered to be unholy or against her religion, and I knew that I could use that fear against her. I spent the next 2 weeks during my time at the public library and on my home computer compiling a list of every single online psychic and tarot reading and medium service that I could find on the internet. I looked for the ones that had the most dramatic websites with pictures of crystal balls and ghosts and dark symbols, because I knew those would scare her the most. I also looked for every strange cult and fringe religious group that had a newsletter or a mailing list. I was very careful to hide my search history, and I only worked on it when my parents were busy in the other room. I knew that Mrs. Gable had a school-issued email address because it was listed on the school website for all the parents to see, and I knew that she checked it constantly because she was always bragging about how organized she was. Once I had a list of over 200 different websites, I was ready to start my mission. I waited until a Saturday morning when my parents were out running errands, and I sat down at the computer with a glass of lemonade and a feeling of cold determination. I went through my list one by one, and I signed Mrs. Gable up for every single thing. I used her full name and her school email address, and I checked every box that said I want to receive daily updates and urgent spiritual messages. I signed her up for daily horoscopes and palm readings and messages from the beyond, and even a website that claimed to help you talk to your dead pets. I signed her up for newsletters about witchcraft and spells and the secret history of the occult. I could almost imagine the look on her face when she opened her inbox on Monday morning and saw it flooded with emails that she would consider to be the work of the enemy. I did not stop there, though, because I knew that revenge is a dish that is best served with multiple courses. After the dust from the gym incident had settled and I was back in class, I started my second phase of the plan. I started being the sweetest and most helpful student that Mrs. Gable had ever seen. I smiled at her every morning, and I said yes, ma-em, and no, ma-em, with a voice as sweet as honey. I wore my best dresses, and I kept my hair perfectly braided, and I made sure to always have my homework finished early. I laid the cheese on thick, as my mother would say, and I could see that it was confusing her. She did not know how to react to a girl she called the devil acting like a little angel. At the same time, I started the sabotage part of my plan with Tyler. Mrs. Gable still made me help him with his math every single day, and I realized that I had a perfect opportunity to ruin his grades while making myself look like I was trying my best to help. When we were working on long division, I would purposefully tell him the wrong steps, but I would do it in a way that sounded very confident and helpful. I would tell him that you were supposed to multiply when you were actually supposed to subtract, or I would give him the wrong multiplication tables for the numbers we were working on. Tyler was so lazy and so confident in his own superiority that he never even questioned me. He just wrote down whatever I told him, and he thought he was going to get an A because the smart girl was helping him. I would watch from the corner of my eye as he filled out his worksheets with completely wrong answers, and I would feel a little spark of joy in my heart. The best part was when Mrs. Gable would come around to check on us, and I would be pointing at the paper and explaining things with a big smile, and she would nod and tell Tyler how lucky he was to have such a helpful classmate. She had no idea that I was leading him straight into a failing grade. A few days later, I started to see the effects of the email onslaught. Mrs. Gable came into the classroom looking like she had not slept in a week. Her hair, which was usually in a tight and perfect bun, was messy and sticking out at odd angles, and she was blinking rapidly like she could not believe what she was seeing. She kept checking her computer and then letting out a little gasp or a groan, and she would start typing furiously on her keyboard. I heard her whispering to the teacher from the classroom next door about how her email was being attacked by demons and how she was getting messages from people claiming to be able to see her future. She looked genuinely terrified, and she kept touching the wooden cross around her neck as if it were a shield. I just sat at my desk and opened my math book, and I gave her a look of pure innocence that would have made a saint proud. As the weeks went by, the situation only got worse for her. Apparently, the school's information technology department was having a very hard time blocking all the emails because I had signed her up for so many different things from so many different sources. Every time they blocked one, another 5 would pop up in its place. I had been very thorough, and I had even found some websites that were based in other countries, which made them even harder to stop. Mrs. Gable became more and more paranoid, and she started talking about how the school was haunted and how she felt like she was being watched by unseen forces. She stopped calling me the devil because I think she was actually starting to be afraid of me in a way that she could not explain. She would catch me smiling at her, and she would look away quickly as if she had seen a ghost. Meanwhile, Tyler's math grades were absolutely spiraling into the trash. He failed 3 quizzes in a row, and Mrs. Gable could not understand why because she saw me helping him every day. She even called me up to her desk one afternoon to ask me what was going on, and I put on my best sad face and told her that I was trying so hard, but that Tyler just seemed to be having a lot of trouble focusing. I told her that I would try even harder and that I would spend even more time explaining the problems to him. She patted my hand and told me that I was a good girl and that she appreciated my effort, which was the biggest lie she had ever told, but I did not mind because I knew the truth. Tyler was getting more and more frustrated, and he started to get in trouble at home because his parents were angry about his grades. He tried to blame me a few times, and he told Mrs. Gable that I was giving him the wrong answers, but I would just look at her with big, watery eyes and ask why Tyler would say something so mean when I was doing my best to help him. Mrs. Gable would then scold Tyler for being ungrateful and for trying to blame others for his own lack of study, which was the most poetic justice I could have ever imagined. It was a beautiful cycle of chaos that I had created, and I was the only one who knew the truth. One afternoon, the tension finally reached a boiling point. Mrs. Gable was trying to teach a lesson on decimals, but she kept getting interrupted by notifications on her computer screen. Every time the computer made a little ding sound, she would flinch like she had been poked with a needle. Finally, she let out a loud cry and slammed her laptop shut, and she told the class that she had to go speak with the principal immediately. She left us in the room with a substitute teacher for the rest of the day, and when she came back the next morning, she looked like she had aged 10 years. I heard that the school had to put extra email protocols in place for all the teachers because of what they called a coordinated digital harassment campaign. They never suspected that it was a 10-year-old girl with a plaster cast and a library card. They thought it was some kind of sophisticated group of hackers who were targeting religious people. The irony of it all was just too perfect. As the school year started to wind down, Tyler ended up having to go to summer school for math because his grades were so bad that he was not going to be allowed to move on to the 5th grade otherwise. His parents were furious, and he lost all of his privileges at home, like playing video games or going to his friends' houses. He was miserable, and he spent most of his time looking angry and defeated, which was a huge improvement over him being a bully. Mrs. Gable ended up taking a leave of absence at the end of the year because she said her nerves were shattered, and she needed to spend time in a spiritual retreat to clear her mind of all the darkness she had encountered. On the very last day of school, I walked up to her desk to say goodbye. She looked at me with a mixture of fear and confusion, and I gave her the sweetest, most sugary smile I had ever produced. I told her that I hoped she had a very peaceful summer and that I would never forget the lessons she taught me. I saw her hand tremble as she reached for her cross, and I knew that I had won. I walked out of that classroom feeling like I was floating on air, and the Savannah heat did not even bother me. I had learned that sometimes, if someone wants to call you the devil, the best thing you can do is show them exactly what that looks like in the most clever and subtle way possible. I never got caught, and I never told a soul until now because I knew that the best revenge is the kind that stays a secret between you and your target. My arm had healed and the cast was gone, but the memory of that year will stay with me forever, as the time I proved that a quiet girl from Savannah can be a lot more powerful than anyone ever realizes. I am now in the 5th grade, and I have a new math teacher who is very kind and does not talk about religion at all, and Tyler is nowhere to be seen because he is stuck in a classroom repeating the 4th grade. I still see Mrs. Gable around town sometimes, and every time I do, I make sure to wave and smile as brightly as I can. She always turns her head and walks the other way as fast as her legs can carry her. It is a good life, and I have learned that while being good is important, being smart is what really counts when you are dealing with people who try to bring you down. The moss still hangs from the trees and the air is still thick, but I feel a lot lighter than I did before, and I know that I can handle whatever comes my way, because I have a little bit of that fire inside me that Mrs. Gable was so afraid of. My mother always says that history is written by the winners, and in the history of my 4th grade year, I am definitely the one holding the pen. I spent the summer going to the beach and eating peach ice cream and thinking about how much fun it was to watch the chaos unfold. I realize that some people might think what I did was wrong, but those people have probably never been called a devil by someone who is supposed to protect them and teach them. Those people have probably never been pushed down into the dirt while an adult watched and did nothing. I do not feel guilty at all, and in fact, I feel a sense of pride because I stood up for myself when no one else would. I am not a bully, and I am not a mean person, but I am someone who believes in balance, and I think that Mrs. Gable and Tyler got exactly what they deserved. I am looking forward to middle school and high school and whatever else comes next, because I know that I am capable of taking care of myself. I have a collection of tarot cards now that I keep hidden under my bed, not because I believe in them, but because they remind me of the power of a good plan and a little bit of mystery. Sometimes I look at the death card, and I laugh because to some people it means something scary, but to me, it just means the end of one thing and the beginning of another. My 4th grade year ended, and a new version of me began, and she is a version that does not take any nonsense from anyone. If I ever run into another Mrs. Gable in the future, I will be ready for her, and I will have an even better plan than the last one. Savannah is a city of secrets, and I have one of the best secrets of all buried deep inside me like a treasure in the sand. I am Lee Rossner, and I am 10 years old, and I am definitely not someone you want to cross if you value your peace of mind. The sound of the school bell used to make me nervous, but now it just sounds like a victory song, and every time I do a math problem, I think about how numbers can be used for more than just counting. They can be used to balance the scales of justice. I am glad that I am Jewish, and I am glad that I am different, because it gave me the perspective I needed to see through the hypocrisy of people like Mrs. Gable. She thought she was so much better than me because of what she believed, but she was the one who was cruel, and I was the one who was kind until I was forced not to be. That is the real lesson of the 4th grade, and it is one that I will carry with me for the rest of my life. I think about Tyler sometimes, and I hope that summer school is very hot, and that he has to do a lot of long division, and I hope that every time he looks at a math problem, he thinks about the girl he tried to bully, and how she ended up being the one who won. I hope that Mrs. Gable finds the peace she is looking for in her retreat, but I also hope that every time she hears a ding on her computer, she remembers that there are things in this world that she cannot control. The world is a big and complicated place, and there is room for all kinds of people, but there is no room for people who use their power to hurt children. I am just a kid, but I am a kid who knows how to fight back, and that is a very good thing to be. I am going to grow up and do great things, and I am going to make sure that I always treat people with respect unless they give me a very good reason not to. That is my promise to myself, and I know that I have the strength to keep it. The humidity is starting to break as autumn approaches, and the air is getting a little bit crisper, and I feel like I am ready for whatever the 5th grade has in store for me. I have my new books and my new pens and a brain that is always thinking 3 steps ahead of everyone else. I am ready to be a student and a friend and a leader, but I am also ready to be the devil again, if that is what it takes to survive in a world that can sometimes be very unkind. I think I will start learning how to code, because I hear that you can do a lot of interesting things with computers if you know what you're doing. Maybe one day, I will be a professional hacker, or a scientist, or a writer, but whatever I do, I will do it with the same focus and determination that I used to take down my 4th grade math teacher. Life is an adventure, and I am the hero of my own story, and that is a very wonderful feeling indeed. I remember the last time I saw Tyler, he was sitting on a bench outside the school waiting for his mom to pick him up, and he looked so small and so miserable. I almost felt sorry for him for a second, but then I remembered the way he pushed me, and the way he laughed at my broken arm, and the feeling went away. I just walked past him and did not say a word because sometimes silence is the loudest thing of all. He looked up at me, and I could see that he was afraid, and that was enough for me. I did not need to say anything or do anything else because the work was already done. I had reclaimed my power, and I had taught him a lesson that he would never forget even if he did not fully understand how it happened. I am a girl who knows how to wait and how to plan and how to execute a vision, and those are skills that will serve me well for a very long time. My parents think I am just a normal kid who had a tough year, but I know that I am something more than that. I am a survivor and a strategist and a girl who knows how to turn a bad situation into a win. The sun is setting over the marsh, and the sky is turning a beautiful shade of purple and orange, and I feel completely at peace. I am Lee Rossner, and I have a story to tell, but for now I will just keep it to myself and enjoy the quiet. The emails have stopped for now, and the classroom is quiet, and the world is exactly as it should be. I have proved that I am not someone to be trifled with, and I have done it all with a smile on my face and a cast on my arm. It was a long year, but it was a year that taught me who I really am and what I am capable of, and for that I am truly grateful. I will always remember the fourth grade as the year I became the devil, and in doing so, I finally found my own kind of heaven. I think that is the best ending to any story, and I am glad that it is my story to tell. I will continue to be the best student I can be, and I will continue to help others, but I will never let anyone treat me like garbage again. I have my own back, and I have the brains to back it up, and that is all I really need. The future is bright, and I am ready to walk into it with my head held high and my heart full of fire. I am a girl from Savannah, and I am stronger than I look and smarter than you think. And that is the absolute truth of the matter. I look at the computer screen one last time before I shut it down for the night, and I see a notification for a new psychic website that I had missed before. I just smile and close the laptop because I do not need it anymore. The message has been sent, and the lesson has been learned. I am done with that chapter, and I am ready to start the next one. Good night, Savannah, and good night to all the teachers who think they know everything. You never know who is sitting in the front row of your class and what they are capable of when you push them too far. I am living proof of that, and I wouldn't have it any other way. The end of the year is just the beginning of the rest of my life, and I am going to make it a great one. I hope Tyler enjoys his second chance at the fourth grade, and I hope Mrs. Gable finds her way back to the light. But as for me, I am perfectly happy right where I am in the middle of my own beautiful and complicated and slightly wicked life. I am a Rossner, and we are known for being resilient, and I think I have lived up to that name in the best way possible. I will always remember the feeling of that heavy plaster cast, and how it felt when I swung it, and I will always remember the look on Mrs. Gable's face when she realized her world was falling apart. Those are the memories that will keep me warm when the world feels cold, and they are the memories that remind me that I am the master of my own destiny. I am a 10-year-old girl who knows how to take care of herself, and that is a very powerful thing to be. I am proud of what I did, and I am proud of who I am, and I am ready for whatever comes next. I am a fighter and a winner and a girl with a very long memory, and that is why I am the hero of this story. I can hear my mother calling me for dinner, and I can smell the brisket cooking in the kitchen. It is time to go back to being a normal kid for a while, but I will always have my secret, and I will always have my strength. I walk down the hallway and I pass the mirror, and I catch a glimpse of myself. I am smiling and my eyes are bright, and I look exactly like a 10-year-old girl should look. But behind that smile is a mind that has seen things and done things, and I wouldn't change a single second of it. I am Lee Rossner, and this was my revenge, and it was absolutely perfect. I think I will ask for a computer of my own for my 11th birthday, because you never know when you might need to do a little more research. For now, I will just eat my dinner and talk to my parents about my day and act like the perfect daughter they think I am. And in many ways, I am that perfect daughter, but I am also so much more. I am the girl who proved the teacher right, and I am the girl who came out on top. And that is a story I will be proud to tell for a very long time to come. I am ready for the 5th grade, and I am ready for the world. I am Lee Rossner, and I am just getting started. I can feel the cool breeze from the air conditioner, and I can hear the crickets outside, and I know that I am safe and I am strong. I have turned the page on the fourth grade, and I am looking forward to all the blank pages that are waiting for me to fill them up. I hope they are filled with math and books and laughter, but if they need to be filled with a little bit of revenge, I know exactly how to handle that too. I am a girl who knows her worth, and I am a girl who knows how to fight for it. And that is the most important lesson of all. I sit down at the table and I look at my family, and I feel lucky to have them even if they don't know everything about my life. They love me and they support me, and that is what matters most. I take a bite of my dinner and I smile because life is good and justice has been served. I am Lee Rossner, and I am a winner. The shadows in the corner of the room don't scare me anymore because I know that I can handle the dark. I have seen the devil, and she looks a lot like me, and that is perfectly fine. I am at peace with myself and with the world, and I am ready for a good night's sleep. Tomorrow is a new day, and I am going to make the most of it. I am a girl with a plan and a girl with a future, and I am not afraid of anything. I have learned that the best way to deal with a bully is to be smarter than they are, and the best way to deal with an unfair teacher is to be more creative than they can imagine. I have done both, and I am a better person for it. I am Lee Rossner, and this is my story, and I am glad that I am the one who gets to tell it. The end of the fourth grade was just the start of my real education, and I am looking forward to learning everything I can. I am a girl with a bright future and a dark sense of humor, and I think that is a wonderful combination. I am ready for whatever comes next, and I know that I will be just fine. I am Lee Rossner, and I am 10 years old, and I am a force to be reckoned with, and that is the final word on the matter. I can hear the sound of the evening news in the background, and the world seems very big and very far away. But in my little corner of Savannah, everything is just right. I have my family and my books and my secrets, and I am happy. I have learned that you don't have to be loud to be heard, and you don't have to be big to be strong. You just have to be yourself, and you have to be willing to stand up for what is right. I have done that, and I am proud of myself. I am Lee Rossner, and I am ready for my next adventure. I hope it is a little bit quieter than the last one, but if it isn't, I know I can handle it. I am a girl who knows how to turn a problem into an opportunity and a setback into a victory. And that is a very good way to be. I am looking forward to seeing what the fifth grade brings, and I am ready to face it with a smile and a sharp mind. I am Lee Rossner, and I am a hero. And that is the truth.